Well, we were talking about resistance and suction. Well, you've got everything here. Here's another one of those giant winches attached to a dead man. From the dead man via a snatch block down to the load, back to further snatch blocks which again attach to the dead man, back to the load again. I count 4 lines, 4 to 1. This is a 64-ton digger, and what you can't see is that the tracks are the wrong way round. He was working along the bank when he slid into the river. So of course, in trying to pull the unit sideways, you've got a tremendous problem unless you use the famous bog boards, or whatever you call them, these mats, mud mats, which have been rammed down the side of the bank, and now, using the rig up we've already seen, they're going to slide the digger up those boards. And notice the all-important fire for making a British cup of tea, without which any recovery job is impossible. The resistance here has been reduced tremendously by using those boards. This is intelligent recovery. I like to see it. Notice the intelligent use of the dike into which the bulldozer has buried its blade. Here you've got to consider merely I feel someone's going to do something unintelligent, and that was it. Not very clever. Here the resistance has been reduced to, I would say, not a bare minimum, but quite low, because the tracks are sliding quite easily on those boards. Now, what they're using here are inch cables for the main cable on the frame, and then going down to 7/8 winch cable on the 4 to 1 layup, as you see there. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines on the left, and then the 2 lines on the right. These giant horizontal winches, which I forecast will come back into popularity all over the world when somebody finally gets down to making them again, as they've been out of production in most places for several years, have a tremendous pull for the horsepower put into them because of the large reduction, as I mentioned earlier. And they're not expensive to make. But there's the job, virtually 90% complete. Wasn't he lucky that the boom just rested on the other bank? Otherwise, it would have been much, much worse to do. You may wonder how this operator has so much equipment laying around to do this type of heavy work, and it is heavy equipment. And he tells me that this job is very frequent for him, and in fact he does 1 or 2 every month. You'd think they'd fire the drivers of the cranes for putting them in the river so often, but that doesn't seem to be on the recommended list. This is a strange one. I don't know how this happened, but they've got the similar type of crane. The jib has either been cut off or broken, and they're going to make a road first before they try to slide it out of where it's overturned. There's the railway ties being used to make a road, and obviously the solution will be to put a winch rope on the high side, high track, and another winch rope on the boom. Now you've got to be very careful with this. If you try winching on the boom of a crane that is overturned like this, you can pretty well guarantee you'll write the boom off. You need to be really expert at this job, and if you're not, take some advice before you start. Because, as you will readily see, if you start winching on a boom, you create great leverage in comparison to the amount of effort you put into the winching. There's a good 4 to 1 layup. Looks to me like an inch cable this time. Very, very heavy cable. Yes. And there it is, disappearing through the winch tensioners at the back of the vehicle. I think you will see in a moment or two the top line is running to the boom, and I can see the other one at the bottom in front of the tracks. Really, you know, there's nothing too difficult about this, except that you must think about the actual weight on your lines. If that weighs 60 tons, which it does, 120,000 pounds, then with the resistances involved, you're pulling the whole lot, 120,000 pounds. That's a mighty big winching job.